October 6th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with Russia's hinting at a resumption of nuclear testing. Leader Vladimir Putin says his country has successfully tested a nuclear-powered and nuclear-capable cruise missile. Reports also say North Korea is transferring arms for the war in Ukraine. And while the second round of Fukushima wastewater release is ongoing in Japan, South Korea's Oceans Ministry said the first release met international standards and asked Japan for safe discharge and transparent info sharing at the 45th London Convention. The World Trade Organization halves this year's goods trade growth forecast to 0.8%, pointing to a global manufacturing slowdown worsened by persistent global inflation and tight monetary policies. Russia's Vladimir Putin says Moscow had successfully conducted a test on a next-generation nuclear-powered missile. He also declined to rule out that Russia might resume nuclear testing, which will be the first time in more than 3 decades. Lee Seung-ja has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Thursday that Moscow has successfully carried out a test of a new generation of nuclear-powered cruise missiles capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. Nuclear-powered missiles have virtually unlimited range. According to Russia's state news agency RIA Novosti, citing President Putin, the successful test of the Burevestnik, a global-range cruise missile with a nuclear installation, a nuclear propulsion system, was conducted. In an appearance at the Valdai Forum in Sochi, the Russian leader spoke to analysts and journalists and announced that Russia had also almost completed work on its Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile system, which would also mark another key element of its new generation of nuclear weapons. While Russia has not conducted a nuclear weapons test in over 3 decades, Putin has not ruled out the possibility it could resume such testing. He stressed that the U.S. had signed but not ratified the 1996 Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, despite the fact that Russia had both signed and ratified it. Based on that, Putin said it would be possible for the Russian parliament to revoke its ratification, allowing for a nuclear weapons test. Putin also reminded the world of Russia's nuclear might, warning that any country that decides to use nuclear weapons against Russia would see the launching of hundreds of missiles in response, giving the enemy little chance of survival. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And less than a month after Putin met up with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, America's CBS News reported that North Korea has begun transferring artillery to Russia. Meanwhile, the U.S. is speeding up to aid Ukraine. Kim Jong-sil has the details.
North Korea is reportedly providing Russia with weapons. According to CBS News on Thursday, a U.S. official told the American news channel that the move bolsters Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces some 20 months into their invasion of Ukraine. CBS called the North Korean support a possible culmination of the summit last month in Moscow when Kim Jong-un made a rare train trip to meet Putin in person. Putin implied after the summit that he and Kim had discussed military cooperation, and CBS said to at least some degree, the cooperation appeared to be taking shape this week. The news outlet, however, added that it's unclear whether the artillery transfer is part of a new long-term supply chain or a more limited consignment. It is also unclear what North Korea is getting in return for the weapons. Meanwhile, the White House has strongly condemned Russia for Thursday's attack on civilians in eastern Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said it's horrifying if you go to grocery stores with your kids, an explosion happens and bodies are everywhere.
This is, again, what the president keeps talking about over and over again. We have to continue to support the people of Ukraine because this is the horrifying nature that they live in every day.
The press secretary added that President Biden will give a major speech on continuing to support Ukraine, possibly without going through Congress. The announcement comes as U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's removal from his role makes it challenging for Congress to debate over future U.S. support for Ukraine. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The second round of Fukushima wastewater release by Japan is now ongoing and will go on until the 23rd. And South Korea is keeping a close eye on the discharge to make sure the process is safe and sound. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Bae-eun-ji reports.
Japan has begun to discharge a second batch of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the sea. Just like the first batch that was released from August 24th to September 11th, a total of about 7,800 tons of water will be heading into the Pacific Ocean. The process will take 17 days until October 23rd, meaning around 460 tons a day will be released. The South Korean government confirmed at a press briefing that the plant operator began the process on Thursday morning.
The Tokyo Electric Power Company started to release the second batch of water at 10:30 a.m. and our inspection team is also currently monitoring related data. As I have said before, our government will do its best to make sure that it does not affect the health or safety of Koreans.
But despite government reassurances, civic groups in South Korea rallied outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul on Thursday, holding up signs that read, "Stop ocean dumping." The protesters urged Japan to immediately halt the release process, saying samples of the second batch of wastewater contained a small amount of radioactive material, such as cesium. They said this shows that the ALP system cannot remove radioactive material from the wastewater completely, and that they cannot trust the Japanese government that's been saying the water is safe. Meanwhile, a Chinese local news outlet also strongly criticized Japan's latest move. Citing Einar Tangen, a senior fellow at a Beijing-based think tank, the Global Times on Thursday called Japan a rogue nation, saying that it was releasing nuclear garbage without addressing concerns from its neighbors or its people. This comes as Japan was hit hard by China's decision to drastically cut Japanese seafood imports. In August, when Japan began the first release, imports fell by around 70% compared to the same month a year earlier. Despite concerns, Japan plans to discharge about 2% of the wastewater stored in the Fukushima power plant by March next year. A total of 1.34 million tons of water, enough to fill 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools, will be discharged over the next 30 years. This means Japan will have to release a larger amount of water starting next year. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
And the South Korean government once again stressed that Japan's Fukushima wastewater release meets international standards, while calling for a safe discharge at an International Maritime Organization meeting. Now, during that meeting in London on Thursday, Seoul's Oceans Ministry said the first discharge was reviewed and concluded to be in accordance with international standards. It called on the international community to ensure continued safe discharge through measures such as the IAEA's on-site monitoring. South Korea also cited the 1975 London Convention that stipulates taking preemptive measures in case of dangerous maritime dumping, while highlighting the need for transparent data sharing. The World Trade Organization on Thursday lowered its 2023 global trade growth forecast to 0.8% from 1.7% in April. The WTO cited a global manufacturing slowdown for the latest forecast, adding that global trade and output slowed abruptly in the fourth quarter of 2022. As the effect of persistent inflation and tighter monetary policies seen in major economies such as the U.S. and the EU bloc. And it also pointed to the war in Ukraine as casting a shadow on the outlook for trade. However, it has left projections for 2024 nearly unchanged at 3.3%. The WTO also expects a real-world GDP to grow by 2.6% and market exchange rates in 2023 and by 2.5% in 2024. High inflation here in the country is now hitting the supermarket shelves, specifically people's go-to dairy products like milk. And that's not all. Our Shin-seok has more.
Starting in October, the Korea Dairy Committee raised the price of raw or unpasteurized milk by 88 Korean won or 8.8% to 1,084 won, which is about 80 US cents per liter. This is the steepest increase since 2013 when the country introduced a unique system for determining raw milk prices based on production costs rather than supply and demand to protect dairy farmers and facilitate better price negotiation. Following the increase in raw milk prices, South Korea's major dairy companies have raised their prices for a liter of milk by around 3 to 6%. Consumers are expected to be hit hard by rising milk prices, with skyrocketing shopping cart prices already putting a dent in their wallets.
As I get older, I find myself drinking about a glass of milk a day, so I tend to choose buy one, get one free deals.
Milk is not the only item affected by rising prices.
It seems like the prices of meat and seafood have really gone up. There were things that used to be relatively affordable in the past, but now rising prices made me hesitate to buy them.
In fact, global sugar prices have hit a 12-year high, hinting at increased processed food prices for the rest of this year. This is due to recent severe droughts and abnormal weather conditions, which have been affecting major sugar exporters, particularly India, the world's largest sugar-producing country. Following the tightened oil supply from the OPEC+, rising oil prices is another concerning factor. According to the Korean National Oil Corporation, as of Monday, the average price of gasoline at gas stations nationwide increased for 12 consecutive weeks. Starting this Saturday, subway fares in the capital region will be hiked for the first time in 8 years. One expert emphasized easing inflation expectations as a measure for the government to control overall inflation.
If everyone starts expecting prices to keep going up, it tends to trigger a continuous rise. So easing inflation expectations is crucial. That means the government needs to demonstrate its commitment to price stability, securing trust from the public regarding the matter.
Earlier this week, Seoul's top office said the Yoon Suk-yeol administration will focus on improving the cost of living and continue to manage price levels in the fourth quarter of this year. 신하영, Arirang News.
The 2023 Nobel Prize in Literature went to Norwegian author Jon Fosse. The Swedish Academy in Stockholm praised his innovative plays and said he gave voice to the unsayable. Fosse is one of the most widely performed playwrights in the world and was awarded the biggest prize in global theater, the Ibsen Award, back in 2010. Now, the remaining Nobel Prizes to be announced are those in peace and economic sciences, due on Friday and next Monday, respectively. It's definitely sweater weather here in South Korea, which means the winter season will come before we know it. That also rings a bell for flu vaccination. For more, we're joined by Professor Howard Lee this morning. Good to have you back.
Good morning to you.
Professor, South Korean health authorities are advising to get vaccinated for both flu and coronavirus this winter. Now, why is it necessary to get both of them?
Well, I think I can give you 3 reasons. First, we are entering into a season where flu can become epidemic. So we need some sort of protection against flu, particularly if you are older than 65. Second, the level of antibodies to COVID-19 might not be sufficiently high enough to protect us from becoming seriously ill by the infection. It is primarily because most of us had the last COVID-19 shot more than 6 months ago. The third reason, which I think is more important, is that we have a couple of studies published recently where co-vaccination with COVID-19 and flu was just as effective and safe as getting alone or one after the other. So it is more convenient getting both shots at one time, while we don't need to worry too much about any problem with that.
Right, especially if you're older, 65 or older, it is definitely recommended. And for a lot of us, it's been more than half a year since we got vaccinated for COVID-19. So that probably has worn out already. Now, then, which vaccination will be used this time for COVID-19? I mean, is there a newly developed one?
That's true. We will get messenger RNA vaccines made by either Pfizer or Moderna. But this time, both of them are based on the new dominant subvariant, which is XBB 1.5. So the vaccines are more protective than the previous bivalent vaccines. And at the same time, they got cleared from the regulatory agencies, as well as, including the MFDS in South Korea. Additionally, a protein subunit vaccine by Novavax will be also important soon for those who are not recommended to take the mRNA vaccine.
Definitely. Now, that will be just one shot, I heard this time. Why is it not 2 or 3, like during the pandemic years that we had to?
It's because our bodies can memorize the one that we got previously, either through vaccine or infection. This is quote-unquote immune memory. So we need just one instead of 2 or 3 this time.
So our bodies are pretty smart to remember the vaccine.
That's correct. That's correct.
Then do you, Professor Lee, actually recommend getting vaccinated for COVID-19 this fall and winter? I mean, the answer is pretty obvious, I think, but why is that? Because pandemic is over, I have to say.
Yeah, of course, the pandemic is over, as you have just said, but we still live with a virus. They are not gone completely yet. Not only that, as I said before, the level of antibody against COVID-19 has been continuously decreasing since we had the last one. So I strongly recommend you to get one this time again.
So it is okay to get both flu and COVID-19 vaccine on the same day? Would that be okay?
Yeah, so you just go to the clinic, whatever place that you like to go to, and just get one. Of course, you have to make a reservation beforehand.
Right, then it would be okay to have them just back-to-back either, right?
Yeah, of course. You just got one shot on one of your shoulders and the other one the other.
I see. Now, the COVID-19 vaccination will still be free of charge this winter, right? And now, can you... Right.
Yeah, so it is fully covered by the government as long as you are 12 years or older. However, flu vaccine is not free if you are over 12 but under 65.
Right. Now, how much can we actually expect to get that flu vaccine? Because I remember that was pretty costly.
Well, I don't recall. Actually, all the flu vaccines that I got was free from the hospitals.
Okay.
Hospital workers. So
right, I don't. So you have to be vaccinated.
How much that was, but yeah, well, I think your recollection might be correct.
Right, but still affordable to avoid that all the winter hassle.
Yeah, absolutely. You should go get one, but this time to both.
Right, because COVID is free for those who are aged above 12.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But, well, you know what? If you live in the United States, you have to pay at least $160 for additional COVID-19 vaccine, but you don't need to pay that in South Korea.
Definitely. All right, to remember for our viewers too, just to get both COVID and flu for the brutal winter that's on the way, just around the corner, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Howard Lee, for your insight. As always, you stay warm.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you have a good one.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn our attention to the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. We begin with hockey, where South Korea's women's team has advanced to the gold medal match after beating Japan 4-3 in the semi-final penalty shootout. Now, South Korea were leading Thursday's match by 2 goals at the end of the third quarter before 2 late goals by Japan took the match to a shootout. The South Korean team will now be looking to secure their 6th gold in the event when they come up against China in the final on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Korea time. Moving on to weightlifting, South Korea bagged a bronze medal in the women's 76-kilogram class. Weightlifter Kim Su-hyeon took 3rd place after lifting a combined total of 243 kilograms, with 105 kilograms in snatch and 138 kilograms in clean and jerk. Now, she finished just 1 kilogram ahead of Chen Wenhui of Chinese Taipei after judges ruled that a contested lift by Kim was valid. Both gold and silver were won by Song Gu-kyung and Jong Chun-hee of North Korea. The bronze marks South Korea's second medal in weightlifting at this year's Asiad. And finally, South Korea added its second wrestling medal of this year's Games with a bronze in the men's Greco-Roman 130-kilogram division. Now, the medal was won by 30-year-old Kim Min-seok, who beat Indian opponent Naveen Malik 5-1 on Thursday. The match between Naveen took the lead with his first and only point in the first half before Kim came back to score 5 points following the interval. And now for a look at the medal standings and upcoming schedule.
Good morning. We almost needed a cozy sweater for our morning commute. Thermometers are pointing to similar numbers to yesterday, but it feels chillier. And Daegwallyeong saw the season's first frost and ice this morning, so it really feels nothing like early October today. But afternoon highs will rise fast into the 20s, so do expect a dramatic temperature gap between lows and highs today. Do dress accordingly, and it's always better to dress a bit warmer when we are heading into the colder month. Afternoon highs will be 2 to 3 degrees higher than yesterday this afternoon under a fair amount of sunshine nationwide. But those in the southern parts of the country will notice more clouds moving in this afternoon. Then there will be light rain through Sunday, but the rest of the country will enjoy fine autumn weather under mostly cloudy skies with more seasonal temperatures for this upcoming 3-day weekend. And then next week looks to be sunny and dry. Now that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next week for Monday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Straight through my heart.
웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라 감당할 수 있겠니?
한국에 오면 먹어야죠.
먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Ireland, like Korea, is a very outward-facing country. Our peoples are curious about the world. Like Irish people, it matters to Koreans that your story is told well, that people understand your values, your culture, your perspectives. Arirang plays a really important role in telling Korea's story to the world and to promoting the Korean brand. This fosters closer friendships between Korea and other countries and enables better cooperation. Resonating with the world, Arirang.
사람들에게 소설을 읽어주는 직업이 있다는 게 너무 독특하고 재미있더라고요. 그래서 이 소재를 가지고 뮤지컬을 만들면 어떨까 생각을 해서 작업을 하게 되었습니다.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
웰컴. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
한국에 오면 먹어야죠.
먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation. Making news just for you. It's October 6th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-yoon, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And Nal Song.
Hi, everyone.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. The UK is strengthening its crackdown against smoking and youth vaping. The government is trying to introduce a new law that would stop children who turn 14 this year or younger from ever legally buying cigarettes. This would make anyone born on or after January 2009 part of the UK's first smoke-free generation. Smoking is one of the biggest causes of death in England, causing around 1 in 4 cancer deaths. Recent data by the Health Ministry shows that it's harder than it seems to obtain a medical license in Korea after graduating from a medical school abroad. Only a third of overseas graduates from the years 2005 to 23 became a licensed doctor in Korea. In the past, many thought this process would be easier than to enter a domestic medical school and become a doctor post-grad. But recent data shows that the bar for passing Korea's two-step medical licensing exam is very high. And the 2023 Chicago Council survey has found that only half of surveyed Americans are in favor of U.S. troops helping out Seoul if North Korea ever invades the South. This was a drop compared to last year when more than 6 out of 10 said they were for U.S. troops supporting its key ally. Now, the CCGA surveyed a total of 3,242 Americans. While most agreed that maintaining ties with countries like South Korea and Japan is beneficial for Washington's security, only 64% were for the U.S. maintaining bases in each country. This was also a drop of 6 percentage points compared to last year. What's also worth noting is that a higher percentage of Americans favored the U.S. supporting Ukraine in its war with Russia. There was a slight drop in percentage points compared to last year as well, but still, over 6 out of 10 Americans were okay with the U.S. distributing military and economic support to Kyiv. Now, based on all these survey results, what did you think about that now?
I mean, of course, as a Korean, I would prefer that people would come help when we really need them. But I do understand that we live in a world where it's kind of difficult to care about every single issue and problem out there. But I do want to point out that Korea and U.S. are allies, and we are good allies. And Korea has been quite supportive of every single time U.S. has gone into war or had any training sessions. So I really hope that it would kind of be a favor returned.
And this year we've seen relations really evolve. It marks the 70-year alliance since they've actually started building relations. Even in our recent military street parade, the one that we held in the first time in 10 years, we saw U.S. troops for the first time take part, which is very symbolic. But what thoughts crossed your mind when you heard this news?
Well, I understand why many are against now, and the number or the percentage of people for supporting countries like South Korea and Japan has gone down because of economic reasons. I mean, the economy is slowing down, and for the people there, Americans, their priority would be their own living conditions, right? And they wouldn't like to see their tax money being spent on something that they seem isn't that relevant to them. But at the same time, I feel like being for supporting Ukraine and not for Japan and South Korea isn't a very consistent kind of standard from my perspective. So I think there could be a little, room for debate regarding that.
It's definitely up for room for debate, because that's always a thing. A lot of people do prioritize, which is only natural, domestic issues. But the thing about international relations and diplomacy and politics is that not only do you have to think about what's happening on the domestic front, because we're living in such an interconnected society right now, you have to consider global affairs as well. And that was our news feed for this Friday, and we're going to head straight into our discussion topic of the day. If you're in Korea, you may be enjoying the peak of autumn along with us here in the studio. We're seeing clear skies, enjoying the cool breeze, and soon to see colorful foliage. And for the next couple of Fridays, our News Gen team is going to take you through the most popular places you can go to better enjoy this relatively short autumn season in Korea. And today, we're going to stick to nature. The best mountains to hike near the capital. So I would first like to ask you guys, are you guys a big fan of hiking?
I really enjoy hiking, and although I don't go as often as I would like to, I think I go every once in 2 or 3 months during the good seasons, like now. And I think it's both physically and psychologically very beneficial. It's very healthy. And even though some people prefer to hike alone, usually the elderly people, I enjoy sharing these experiences with others. And recently, Yeun, you and I, as well as some other News Generation panels, we wanted Niall to join as well, but she's not a big hiker. And we went to one of the mountains that you'll introduce later on during the Chuseok holidays. Now, although we're not fully into autumn yet, we were able to still enjoy the nice and crisp breeze as well as the warm sunlight.
Yeah.
And it really was nice how we had the really good food after the hike as well.
I know, it was a really nice hike, and we'll tell you all about it soon.
Yes.
Now, are you a big hiker? So, as Chi-hee mentioned, I did not join them on their hike. I guess I didn't really like hiking growing up. I used to think it was for old people, and it's for ajumma and ajashi, as we call it in Korean, the older aunties and uncles. And I've actually been forced to go on hiking networking sessions where it kind of you're supposed to go and kind of get to know the other people, whether it be in your company or in your like institution. It wasn't a fun experience hiking up panting and asking where they're from and things like that. So I really think it's important who you go with, like you guys were mentioning. But I think people that you get along with, maybe you won't get along with afterwards if your pacing is different. Maybe if you're going up at the same pace, coming down at the same pace, enjoying a good conversation, it might be great. But if they're just intense hikers, I don't know. Is that coming from experience?
Maybe, yes.
I feel a little guilty. Yeah, because, I will tell you all about it once we actually introduce one of these mountains, but Chi-hee there, she was not the best pace controller.
I see, she was just really intense about it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Regardless of what type of pace you're going and who you're going with, there's no doubt that autumn is the best season to actually go hiking, and that's why we decided to talk about it for our first episode of introducing all these places you can go during this season here in Korea. And also, we chose this topic in particular because, as you mentioned, Nal, hiking used to be considered a popular sport among like ajumma, ajashis, aunties, uncles. But now it's trending among our generation, specifically millennials and Gen Z.
Right.
So can you tell me why and how it became so popular?
I personally think this really started happening after COVID. A lot of indoor sports and gyms were really limited, and you had to wear, masks, and at some point you had to limit your music that you're listening to. So people started going outdoors, hiking, camping, and even outdoor, I guess, kind of workout gears that are kind of free for people to use. A lot of them are on mountains, so people would kind of do a little hike and go work out for free there. And I really think that COVID was a time where our generation really thought about health and nature, and how, because during COVID, nature actually started kind of livening up because we were being so good about not,
we
not
were isolated, didn't use our cars too much.
I think all of that combined, everybody became very, into the idea of hiking.
And I think COVID, though it was one of the most hard times against humanity in modern days in terms of health crises, it actually raised our awareness on being healthy.
Exactly.
That's why words like healthy pleasure came up, which is why a lot of people got interested in learning and finding ways to stay healthy while not keeping too close with other people because it was an infectious disease. And hiking was the best way. Why do you think it became so popular, specifically among our generation?
Well, I think it's because COVID-19 certainly was a very big reason behind that, and the young people, they really want to socialize, but because of social distancing, they can only do it outdoors. And I think it's also because of the geographical reason. In Seoul is a very mountainous area. Particularly, we have a lot of forests, and as a result, the city of Seoul has a remarkable 119 mountains. And so millennials and Gen Z are really fond of hiking because they can enjoy it in the heart of the city without having to travel too far. Now, I used to live in Bangkok when I was younger, and they don't have any mountains at all. So I had to drive like 2-3 hours outside the region to see a mountain or hike. So it really is a big advantage for Seoul to have mountains, this many mountains. And the younger generation, they consider it a game because they like going to the mountains and really ticking off the ones that they want in that list. And so I would like to introduce 3 of Seoul's most accessible and popular mountains. As you can see on the screen, you can see a map displaying the 3 most popular mountains in the capital area, which we will introduce one by one together.
We would love to take you all to the 119 mountains out there here in Seoul you can enjoy. But as you mentioned, those are the 3 most popular chosen by locals and personally amongst ourselves as well. So Chi-hee, why don't you introduce the first mountain?
Sure. So the first mountain I would like to introduce is called Bukhansan. And Bukhansan is the highest mountain in Seoul. Seoul. It stands at 837 meters. It's located on the border between the northern part of Seoul as well as the Gyeonggi province. So there are plenty of hiking trails to choose from because basically you can walk up from anywhere around the region. And also the National Park of Bukhansan is renowned for its natural beauty. It's been designated as a national park, which means the area's natural beauty has been very well preserved. Now, the park is home to a diverse range of mountain plants, and it boasts one of the largest valleys in Korea as well. And the park also features various historical sites and cultural properties, including Bukhansan Fortress and Guksadang, which is known for a place for shamanism as well. And you can really enjoy the autumn foliage in this mountain as well. So we should go hike this mountain later.
I think that's our second destination. I have a question about Bukhansan, though. The name is so interesting because Bukhan literally means North Korea. Is it in English North Korea mountain? Why is it called? It's not in North Korea.
Want to take this one, Ji-hee? That's a good question. I initially thought so too, but there's a different meaning behind this. So Buk means north, right? But Han, it's the Han from the Han River we have in South Korea, and the mountain is located on the northern part of this river. That is why it's called Bukhansan Mountain.
It's not North Korea mountain.
Not North Korea
it's north of Han River Mountain.
Yes. I think that's a good question because some people would be confused. Why is it in South Korea then if it's
thought
called
about it for a long time.
I know, but it's actually referring to a mountain on the northern side of the Han River. Now, you introduced the highest mountain in Seoul, Bukhansan, but I'm going to take Cheonggaesan. And as Ji mentioned before, I've had the pleasure of going with some of the panelists from our team, Ji-hee as well. So take a look at the screen to see what Cheonggaesan is like and the experience I had. Now, the biggest reason I would like to recommend Cheonggaesan Mountain is because it isn't as crowded as Bukhansan. It's a popular destination among local hikers. It's also easy to access via public transport. It takes around 10 minutes to walk from the nearest station named Cheonggaesan Station, which is on the Shinbundang line, which goes straight to Gangnam. And Cheonggaesan is a good mountain to start off with if you're a rookie hiker like myself. It used to be called Cheongnyongsan, referring to how it looks like a blue dragon which flew out from the site. Now, there's a lot of short trails like the one we went on first, all the way up to Ongnyeobong. It takes around 30 minutes to go up. It's 375 meters above sea level, which means it's not too high up. Now, I was quite satisfied only going up to Ongnyeobong, but the rest of the team said Maebong is the highlight of Cheonggaesan, so we went another hour and 30 minutes to go up to Maebong, and that, you can see our team is quite satisfied. The iconic view there, you can see the landscape of Seoul. Now, mind you, it was an extra an hour and 30 minutes to go up. So we ended up spending a total of around 4 hours
on the
hiking.
Mountain. You expected 30 minutes.
I expected 30 minutes. And as I told you, I was very fine going only up to
This is why I didn't go.
But actually, it was really nice because though it was a strenuous hike up and even down, because it was harder to come down.
Oh, yes.
And at the time, you know how we mentioned that Ji-hee wasn't the best pacemate?
Ooh.
She was really good when we were going up, but then you went really fast down. Why'd you do that?
I did because I like going up more rather than going down. Some people would prefer going down because it seems less strenuous, but for me, with my bad knees, I feel like going down is the worst. So I wanted to end it quickly.
I know, it was really hard to go down because mind you, Maebong was 582 meters up above sea level. It was much higher than Ongnyeobong, but imagine us going up to 2 slopes at once. And 4 hours on the mountain, so it was really strenuous. But at least we did reward ourselves with really good food.
We did.
And the thing I love about hiking in Korea is that there's so many traditional restaurants right down the bottom of the mountain. And we had like traditional tofu, which was really nice. I wish I could show you guys, but maybe if we have the chance, we'll upload some pictures on our community and stuff to show what food we had.
Yes.
But that was the highlight of
That was the highlight of the part, and we also had the pajeon, Korean
that
pancake,
sounds really good.
seafood pancake. It was really good.
It was really nice.
If we hadn't had our cars, we would have had it with the makgeolli.
I know, that
rice
is the go-to menu to have when you're after a hike.
Exactly.
But we couldn't do that. But we did enjoy another highlight, which was picking out our outfits, right?
Oh, yes. That was the best part before going on the mountain. Well, we said millennials, they really like hiking these days. One particular characteristic of them is that unlike the elderly people, we have the typical hiking look for them, right? With the the famous outdoor brands and the gears.
Windbreakers,
yes,
and
exactly.
hiking sticks.
But with millennials, they have their own kind of unique style. They don't want to keep to the typical look. They wear a lot of leggings or just casual t-shirts or, well, windbreakers, but I guess a little more trendy looking.
And a bit more colorful.
Yes,
but
and a bit more
toned
colorful.
down.
Oh, yes, that's right. So I myself also thought of what I wanted to wear for the Cheonggyesang hike, and I actually had to stop by at an outlet to get the socks.
Shopping. I mean, the dedication.
Right the right socks.
And you had the right socks. And the socks she's referring to aren't like the short ones, but the ones that come up the hiking socks. Yes, they're really cute. You should have filmed it. We should have. And if you look back at the episode, you could see Jihee's socks. And it was really nice. And for me, too, I went on social media to see like all the hiking gear and hiking attire that people would go through. But that's why it's a trend among our generation. It's all about the look as well. We like the occasion to dress it up. Yeah, and now, would you join us if you have the right attire now? Honestly, I saw these really cute hiking shoes the other day, and it was pink. Yeah, I love pink, and I think that was kind of what changed my mind. I'm like, maybe I do want to go hiking if I were to buy the shoes. And it's an entertainment source. I think we mentioned it in previous episodes, but for golfing, tennis, any sports activity, I think we like it if we have the right look. Right, exactly.
We can stop at Ongyabong next time.
Yeah, next time we'll just do the 30 minutes, take cute pictures. Because I know it's all about convenience, right? I mean, for me, it's hiking itself. It's the experience. I don't have to have the full, difficult, physically strenuous part. I just need to kind of experience a little bit of that, take some pictures, eat some good food, and I think that's kind of what I want. And I mean, I've gone kind of shopping for hiking before. This is what I got. That's nice. I was in Seattle, Washington with my in-laws, and we went to Mount Rainier, which is also a very famous mountain. And I technically didn't need to buy this because we drove up the mountain, but it looks cute, so it was great. And speaking of convenient ways to go up the mountain, the last mountain I want to talk about today is Namsan. Yes. You know what's so great about this place is that you can take a cable car up. You can take a cable car up, enjoy the view. You can have a little chat, and you can even take the bus if you don't want to take the cable car. But it's great because it's near Myeongdong, which is a very famous touristic site, and you don't even, you go up the mountain and you're not even that tired, but you can enjoy the restaurants, the cafes, they have the souvenir shops, and lots of great places for pictures. But you can get these locks. Maybe you've seen them in Korean dramas, or maybe you've been to Namsan, but they have these locks where you can write your name and the name of your significant other, lock it onto a fence, and throw the key away, and that way your love will be locked there forever. And there's so many locks there, right? Yeah, so I would say definitely visit Namsan if you're kind of a lazy hiker like me, but it's worth the view. On the way up, if you do hike, actually, there's these historical statues of people like An Jung-geun, Kim Gu, Yu Kwan-sun, Yi Hwang, and kind of study up on your Korean history and read up on their backgrounds, maybe talk about that and talk about it with your friends as you're hiking up, and maybe that's the kind of hike you like, so you can do whatever you'd like.
And I completely understand if you're a rookie hiker and you do not want to go uphill by walking because you have bad knees like myself, use the cable car.
Exactly.
It's so comfortable, and also you get the experience of trying what your favorite K-actor or K-actress has been, because Namsan is such an iconic tourist site and a popular destination even for drama filmmakers.
Right.
So we often see it on media, right?
Yep. I've been there too, and I've seen all those locks and the little hearts, big hearts, like lit up hearts.
Yeah.
And I've actually gone to Namsan before as a group activity when I was in school. And I really liked Namsan because unlike some other mountains, which tend to be very rocky, the trails were really well paved. So it's an easier walk, I felt like.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing that we could recommend actually is we mentioned mention that while you hike, one of the go-to food that a lot of Korean locals enjoy is pajeon, like Korean pancakes, and makgeolli, a traditional rice wine. But also in Namsan, their iconic food is donkasu.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so pork cutlets. Donkasu. Yes, fried pork cutlets. It's really big, really thin. So go enjoy that once you come down the mountain. There's like lines and lines of restaurants where you can enjoy that. Now, we asked our viewers if they have their own favorite mountain or hiking trail in their own respective countries. So we wanted to find out what it's like around the world, and here's what 3 of them had to share with us. So Ark said 2 of the most famous mountains on the Philippines are Mount Mayon, which is known to the world for its perfect symmetrical cone shape, and Mount Taal, whose crater makes a lake inside an island inside a lake. Wow. And Doinar Hire said, in Romania, the Carpathian Mountains are the most important and famous. I like hiking during summer and autumn. And Mola said, I'm from India, so the Himalayas, the home of Mount Everest, and K2, the second highest mountain, in the Karakoram range. I would love to hike, but haven't done it yet. Well, Amola, please join our High Hike crew. It's a name that we've given ourselves here on NewsGen, and we're planning to go on many more hikes. Yes. But in the meanwhile, we're trying to share our personal tips to our viewers who've ever not tried hiking before or are actually thinking of. So why don't we give our few know-how, starting with you, Chi-hee?
Well, like I said earlier, we have a lot of mountains in Seoul in particular, and other parts of the country as well, but they tend to be very rocky. So I recommend you to wear thick socks as well as proper.
You are really in for the socks.
She really had to go shopping for them.
She really had to go to that
word for it. Yes, you do need the socks.
And mind you, it was in the peak of Chuseok, so there was a lot of traffic, but yet she still managed to go to a shopping outlet for those socks.
My passion for those right socks. Anyway, and also have the right hiking shoes as well, because they tend to protect your ankle. And if you don't protect your ankles on the Rocky Mountains, you might slip. So really, do be careful and get the right hiking socks. I mean, hiking shoes.
The right equipment. What about you now?
I would say take the right type of snacks. I've seen a lot of people take cucumber. Some people don't like cucumber, so you figure out a way to hydrate yourself. But I heard it's because, you know, it's very hydrating, so people take cucumbers, chocolate, weird combination, but yes, cucumbers, chocolate.
Apples.
But apples, I would personally take a cup noodle thing and then take a bottle of like a hot thermos water, and then at the top of the mountain, pour it in, and you just sit there and enjoy your view.
Enjoy the view with a really warm cup of cup noodles. Ooh. But mind you, please take your trash down. I think the part about having snacks and packing them up, as strenuous as it is to bring it up, make sure to bring it down as well, because a lot of people are littering, and the biggest part of hiking is enjoying the nature. And in order for us to enjoy it, we better preserve it. But in the meantime, while you guys think of hiking in Korea, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Chi-hee.
Always a pleasure.
And Nelsong.
No problem.
Hope to enjoy you on our next hike now.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are
News Generation.
Welcome.